Okay, picture this. A blazing, catastrophic forest fire. Flames are literally licking the sky, and there's imminent mortal danger all around. In a situation like that, you'd think the focus would be solely on survival, right? Well, welcome to this explainer. Today we're looking at a pretty incredible text from the ancient Indian epic, the Mahabharata, where a literal life-or-death crisis becomes the backdrop for a bizarrely relatable domestic dispute. It's this wild story of intense mythology, desperate survival, and honestly, a very heavy dose of family melodrama.
So here's our roadmap for today. We'll start with a father's burning fear, move into the jealous second wife, look at surviving the Khandava fire, deal with a very cold reunion, and finally unpack Mandapala's mythological defense. Let's just dive right in.
Section 1. A father's burning fear. Anxious Mandapala. Now, to really understand the immense danger our characters are facing, we need to talk about the Khandava Daha Parva. This is a famous episode in the Mahabharata that details the catastrophic, divinely fueled burning of the Khandava forest. We're talking about the fire god Agni consuming absolutely everything in his path with fierce rays and violent winds. The stakes here absolutely could not be higher. Imagine a massive wall of fierce flames, and trapped right in the middle of this apocalypse are vulnerable children.
Let's map out this family tree real quick because it's crucial to the drama that's about to unfold. Our central figure is Rishi Mandapala. With his first wife, Jarita, he has 4 children: Jaritari, Sarasrika, Stamvamitra, and Drona. But here is the critical detail. These children are currently in the form of flightless birds. They physically cannot fly away from the fire. Meanwhile, Mandapala is safely away from the flames with his second wife, Lapita. So you have a father, paralyzed by anxiety, watching from afar as the fire threatens his helpless, flightless children and his first wife.
Section 2. The jealous second wife. Lapita's accusations.
Suddenly, the tension shifts completely from the blazing forest to this unexpected, almost reality TV-style love triangle. Mandapala is weeping, completely terrified for his children's lives, and his second wife, Lapita's reaction? She tells him, "Thou need not worry. It is only by thinking of her, my rival, that thou art so distracted." In the absolute midst of an apocalyptic fire, Lapita actually accuses him of using the children as an excuse to pine over his first wife, Jarita. It's a stunning moment of biting jealousy. It really goes to show that even divine, world-ending events apparently can't pause marital friction.
Now, both characters actually have surprisingly distinct arguments here. On one side, Lapita points out that Mandapala already secured a promise from the fire god Agni to spare the children. And you know, Agni is a region of the universe. He doesn't exactly falsify his speech. So in her mind, Mandapala's tears are completely fake, just masking his lingering love for Jarita. On the flip side, we have Mandapala's defensive reasoning. He states he's only present for the sake of progeny. He argues that anyone who casts off their offspring in the face of a blazing fire is just wicked. He basically refuses to trust the situation entirely, or rather, he just lets his very real fear for his helpless kids take over completely.
Section 3. Surviving the Khandava fire. The Khandava Inferno. Meanwhile, back in the actual Inferno, let's trace how this survival plays out. Over a span of mere minutes, the fire rapidly approaches the spot where the children live. Mandapala, finally overcome with anxiety and leaving the argument entirely behind, leaves Lapita to head to the forest. Simultaneously, Jarita, the first wife, is frantically rushing through the burning woods to find her vulnerable kids. Then, a literal miracle happens. Just as Agni promised, the children survive the flames safely. Finally, we hit the climax of this whole ordeal. Jarita finds them alive, perfectly well, and they share this tearful, joyous reunion. The physical danger is officially over.
Section 4. A very cold reunion. The aftermath.
But, as you'll see, surviving the fire was really only half the battle. The narrative tension immediately shifts to the emotional fallout. The children and Jarita survived, but when Mandapala finally arrives, having rushed back through the burning woods, why in the world do they completely ignore him? I mean, he is their father, but he's met with an absolute wall of silence.
It is an incredibly awkward arrival. Just picture it. Jarita and her kids are weeping together, safely embracing each other after the absolute terror of the fire. It's this picture of pure, unadulterated relief. Then Mandapala shows up, interrupting this tender moment. He awkwardly tries to start a conversation, literally asking about their birth order. He says, "Who amongst these is thy firstborn and who the next after him?" And crickets. He is met with absolute silence. Nobody speaks a single word to him, good or bad.
The cold shoulder is just palpable.
The silence is finally broken by his first wife, Jarita. And wow, she does not hold back. She says, "Go now onto that Lapita of sweet smiles and endued with youth, beholding me deficient in everything." Despite the fact that they literally just survived an apocalyptic fire, Jarita's primary focus is still the emotional betrayal. She tells him to go right back to his younger, sweeter smiling second wife. The sting of him leaving her for Lapita completely overrides any relief she might have felt at him showing up now.
Section 5. Mandapala's mythological defense. Mandapala's justification.
So how exactly does Mandapala handle this fierce rejection? Well, he definitely doesn't apologize. Instead, he resorts to an ancient mythological argument. He brings up Arundhati. According to the text, Arundhati was celebrated as this highly auspicious, well-behaved wife. However, because she harbored insulting thoughts of jealousy toward her pure-minded husband Vasishta, she was transformed into a smoky, inauspicious little star. Mandapala essentially uses this myth to outline his argument that jealousy actively diminishes a woman's standing.
To defend his bruised ego, Mandapala lays out a few specific arguments here. First, he claims that co-wives and clandestine lovers destroy happiness, basically blaming the structure of their relationship for the strife. Second, he directly compares Jarita to Arundhati, stating Jarita's acting purely out of jealousy. Third, he remarkably claims he never actually wronged Jarita at all, comparing himself to the pure Vasishta. He then broadens his argument to assert that men should never trust women, even their wives. And finally, he states that women, once they become mothers, do not much mind serving their husbands.
And then, following this really intense defensive lecture, there is a very sudden resolution. The children, who were previously giving him the cold shoulder, step forward to worship him. He kindly offers assurances, and just like that, the ancient hierarchy is restored. The fiery domestic dispute is extinguished almost as quickly as the forest fire itself.
Which brings us to our final thought for this explainer. Does extreme crisis actually erase our interpersonal conflicts, or does it merely amplify the underlying human drama? The story of the Khandava fire shows us that even while the world is literally burning down around them, mythological figures still find time to bicker about jealousy, loyalty, and bruised egos. It's a real testament to how deeply ingrained our emotional conflicts really are. I hope this structured look at the text gave you a fresh perspective on the surprisingly relatable domestic drama hidden within epic mythology. Thanks for joining me to explore this fascinating dynamic.